temperature. So, what's been going on? Back when all this started in around July, August 2012, when I started having these symptoms, right after that, the extra bedroom I have, the ceiling caved in. And what had happened was the drip pan underneath the air handler had overflowed. So someone had recommended an HVAC guy to me who came out that night, and we stayed up till 2 o'clock that morning trying to get all of that out of the house, and putting a plastic barrier up in the hole because I have asthma. And in hindsight, I should have been wearing a mask when I was doing all that. But at the time, I was freaking out because I had water everywhere and debris everywhere. And I had asthma in the front of my mind, but in the back of my mind, I had a hole in my roof or my ceiling. I didn't know what I was going to do. So he assured me that he could fix the ceiling, he could fix the problem with the drip pan, with my HVAC system for under $1,000, and I didn't need to put a claim in. So I had initially called my insurance company to let them know what was going on, and they said, find out how much it'll be and call us back if you decide to put in a claim. Well, when he said that, I don't know, well, I do now, but I didn't know very much about HVAC systems. I didn't know very much about maintaining a house. I bought this house in 2005 and I rented it out until I moved into it in 2008. And then, like I said, the nor'easter hit and there was a lot of flood damage and the roof had to be replaced and a lot of other stuff. Water damage, rather. So he put the ceiling in, put a new drip pan in, and that took a long time. I was getting sicker. I didn't know why. And there were times where he couldn't come out. There was times when I didn't want him to come out because I was too sick. I was sleeping all the time. I was still having problems with eating. I was having asthma attacks really bad, even though he had, that he had that hole covered up. We had dried out the carpet. We had dried out the padding with the fan. I would say it took him a couple of months to finally get it finished. And by then I was just completely over the whole situation. I had to get him to come back a couple of times because when I would come home, everything would have white stuff all over it. So he would look at the duct system and say, yeah, I found another hole and I plugged it up. And he'd tell me he found a rag or something to plug it up with. And, like I said, I was sick. I was over it. I just was, I guess this guy knows what he's talking about. I can't deal with this right now. I'm going back to sleep. So, last year, when it started getting hot, I was smelling mold. And it was in this area right back here, which is where my washer and dryer are. And I thought it was from a previous leak from when my tenants had lived here. The washing machine had leaked. So I had ripped up the, when I had the washer replaced, I ripped up the vinyl flooring, and sure enough, there was mold underneath there. So, again, not wearing a mask, I had, cleaned that up with bleach and water and everything, and I just left the vinyl flooring because they needed to get the new washing machine in there and go. So I did not get to get the vinyl flooring ripped up from underneath the dryer at that time. So I thought that I didn't smell mold anymore. The thing with asthma is that you really develop a keen sense of smell with what you have a reaction to. And with me, it's flowery perfumes, bleach, chemicals, mold, musty smells, things like that. So I don't recall smelling it after that. But I've, been progressively getting worse since that happened, obviously. And then around March of this year, I turned my AC unit on and immediately started smelling mold. And my daughter came over, and I just told her, I said, walk around the house and tell me just tell me what you smell. And she smelled something in a different place than I did. So I had a neighbor of mine come over. I told him, I need to borrow your nose. So I had him come over, and he smelled mold in a different place than I smelled it. So that right there tells me there's really something going on. So I bought one of those Home Depot mold kits and attached one to one of the vents, and I put one in the washer dryer area, and the only one that grew any mold was the one over the vent area. So I called a mold inspector out, and I'm getting really red right there. And you're gonna see me act like this because I have to minimize stuff so I don't get upset, and I will try to joke about stuff because it's just been so much that I've had to deal with. And just speaking from my health and the house perspective, I'm not going to go into anything else. Called the mold inspector out, and he did the air quality test and 2 swabs, and I found out that I do have mold. I have mold in my air handler really bad. And I found out that there's also a drip pan inside the air handler. There's really no way to tell how long mold has been growing, but based on the pictures that he took And what I've been told, I won't say by who, because I don't want to have any repercussions of it from the against the people that told me this, from the HVAC guy that did the repairs back in 2012. I'm being told that there is no way that he opened up that air handler and cleaned it. No way that he made sure it was dry. That it may have even had mold in it at that time. They don't know, but they said that it's been there a long time, and most likely it happened when the air handler overflowed, the drip pan overflowed, and the pipe had gotten backed up. So I've been living in a house with mold for 2 years, and again, when my symptoms started. So I went to a infectious disease doctor last month, and this is not the first time that I've tried to talk to some of my doctors about this, or maybe exposures to other toxins, but it's just kind of been pushed aside. But he did testing for various fungals. He did blood work for, let me see if I can say it right. Without having to look, I'm going to have to look. He did testings for, sorry, I have to look at the word. It's the IgG tests. IgA, see, I can laugh at myself. If I see the word, I can pronounce it, but I could blame it on being tired, which I am, but I'm not going to do that. Immunoglobulins. I had to see it in my head. So he did tests on that. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. And he did a test called Fungitel. And I've had a lot of tests done where overall the test results would come back normal, but there would be things within the test that would be abnormal. And some of the doctors that have done the tests, you know, the doctors that have done the tests haven't been concerned about that because of the overall picture. I have, because I'm the one with this disease, and some of the test results have shown that my body does not process protein correctly. And if it was one test result that showed that, that wouldn't be a problem. But there have been several different tests, and I've tried to point that out to these specialists, not this infectious disease doctor, because that's not his avenue, but doctors that I've been seeing for a while, and not getting really an answer. The other thing was that my monocyte count, which shows if you have an infection, my monocyte count has been high since November of last year. Granted, it hasn't been skyrocket high, but it wasn't high before then. But anyway, the fungals that he tested me for were negative. The Fungitel test, which I don't know a whole lot about. Other than it came back positive and the results were triple high what the normal range is. It says that it's for the presumptive diagnosis of fungal infections. There was a couple of other things that came back out of range. So he wants me to come back in a couple of months and get retested. He does not think I have an exposure or an infection. It's more that the mold and the mold is causing symptoms I've been having, because I hadn't had to use my inhaler or Symbicort since around November of last year. And then when I turned my air conditioner back on, I started having asthma attacks. I was having 2 to 3 asthma attacks a day. And it got worse when it got hot outside. I would have them when I first got to work, because they put down new carpet, did all this construction, so there's all that flying around with, the dye and the carpet, and I've got this mold in my house, and then the heat and the humidity are all triggers for asthma attacks. So I was having one when I was first getting to work. Then I was having another one as I was leaving to go to my car. So I had a remote starter installed in my car, so I could at least try to cool my car down a little bit before I got into it. Trying to get the mold remediation done. I had the company come out right after the mold inspector. I sent them the report. This was May. It's now July. Dragging your ass, can you say? They sent me the contracts. The contracts that they sent me were more for commercial work. I questioned that. They said, well, that really wouldn't apply to you. so you don't need to worry about that. And I said, well, anything that doesn't apply to me could very easily become something that would apply to me because it's in a contract. And I'm a paralegal, I'm a certified paralegal, and I'm not going to sign anything that is on here unless you have X'd it out and we have non-applicable, we both initialed it. And most of that contract would be that way because it had stuff in there about me having to have special insurance for his workers, which would not apply to me. Surveys, permits, all kinds of stuff. So that's gotten nowhere. I had another company that was going to come out and give me a quote last week. I believe it was on Friday, but I had to call and cancel that because I had a new water leak in there. And it's the valves that the washing machine connect to are leaking. So water is running behind the wall onto the floor, the concrete slab. I came home, my carpet was wet. So there was a repairman working across the street at my neighbor's house. I had just gotten his card. I'm going to show you the back of it because I don't want to show his name. But he's a jack of all trades. He does everything. So he was doing some work on her house. I called him up after he left her house because I didn't want to cut into her time. And I told him what was going on. And I asked him if he could come out. Let's see what time it is. He still hasn't shown up. This was last Thursday. I asked him if he could come out the next day and look and see if he could fix it. So it wasn't like a pipe had burst. It was just the floor was completely wet. So I tried to dry it up as much as I could because I don't need yet another mold problem. Although I have suspected that there is mold either behind that wall, it's behind the wall, the sheetrock itself, or something going on behind that wall. He came out and said that it was just the valves and that he would go buy new valves and be out Saturday to come, and fix it. And in the meantime, he's still repairing her place. Or not repairing, he's actually putting something in. So I said, okay, well, just call me first and make sure I'm up and dressed. And he said something like, I'm not going to be out and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I got up early, which, as I said before, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I get up at 4 because I have a very hard time waking up. I have to take medicine right when I get up because I can't eat for 30 minutes. I have to get myself hydrated enough so I can take a shower and not worry about passing out. It takes me about an hour to get ready. I got to take care of Tony, feed him, litter box, all that stuff, get dressed. Takes me a good 45 minutes to get to work. So on the weekends, I like to sleep in. So Saturday, he doesn't show up. He's over across the street working on her thing. I don't want to call because she hired him first, and I'm not going to impose on that. He never called me. So I sat here all day waiting for him. He never called. He didn't call Sunday. So I figure, okay, he's an older man. He's taken his Sunday off. So I call him Monday, and I'm like, Mr. So-and-so, just need to find out if you were coming over today to fix this issue. And he said, yeah, I'll be over around this time. Well, with me being, I get off at 1 o'clock because I'm on the short-term disability. So I get home and I'm laying down. He gets here and he's trying to unscrew the valve from Quest piping. I don't know if you know about that, but they are very, very prone to bursting and breaking. And I keep hearing this, And finally I was like, what's going on? He's like, it won't turn. It's, it's so old. It's been on here so long. They won't come off. And I'm afraid, I'm really afraid I'm going to burst your pipe. And I said, you have my full permission to cut out that sheetrock. I'd already told him that I wanted the sheetrock replaced anyway. I'd told him several times that I was smelling something and had been smelling something. It was either mold or something else. I'm going to have to look at this when I get done. Mold or something else going on. So he's like, okay, well, I have to come back tomorrow because I have to get sheetrock and piping, and so I'll be back tomorrow. And I said, well, I'm going to be back a little bit later because I have to go somewhere. Well, that somewhere was I had to go back to my doctor again because being around this since last Thursday had made me sick again. It's now Wednesday. So I had been trying to keep the floor dry in there, and every day it's been getting wet. I had been trying to keep the carpet dry with my steam cleaner by just sucking up the water. And not successfully, I guess, because I was coming home and the carpet would be wet again. So I went to my doctor. I figured it was probably just from trying to keep that area clean, and I did wear a mask this time when I was drying up the water because even though I had cleaned all that and bleached it, it still was dirty, extremely dirty. So he said that I have a viral infection, and there's nothing really they can do about that. So anyway, I call the repair guy and let him know I'm home, leave a message, and I ask him what time he's going to be over. He doesn't call, and he just shows up at my door. And it's one thing that I'm going to have to end this because I'm getting really tired. The thing that most people know about me is, other than my daughter, don't show up at my door. I don't like that. You do not just show up at my door. I believe it's very inconsiderate and disrespectful, especially when I've told you a couple of times, call me. And I had just left on his message, call me. So I open the door and he says, I'm gonna be an hour over across the street and then I'll be over. Well, this was at 3 o'clock and he had told me he would be here at 3 o'clock. I'm not feeling good. All I want to do is lay down. So I'm like, okay. And he goes, and I got everything, but I didn't get the sheetrock because I didn't know how much to buy and I didn't know if we were going to be, and he kind of stopped talking. And I guess I was giving him one of these looks because you already know why. So he goes over there and it starts pouring down raining. He's working outside. It's lightning and thundering. And he's working out there. Stupid, stupid, stupid man. So 5 o'clock, he's still not over here. So I call him and he answers the phone. Yeah, Michelle, like I'm inconveniencing him. I've been sitting around waiting how many days now? So, I mean, my thing is, don't tell me you're going to do something. Don't promise me you're going to do something. Don't commit to doing something unless you're going to do it, because I don't do that. Just give me the same respect. So I told him, I said, you know, can we just put this off till tomorrow? It's 5 o'clock. I'm not feeling well. I had to go to the doctor. I'm sure you're tired. And you don't need to be running back and forth between, you know, doing both of these jobs, rushing. And he was like, okay, yeah, I kind of got caught up, you know, because of the rain and whatever. And I told him, I said, you know, you really shouldn't have been working outside with it like that anyway, with it lightning and thundering. And he just kind of laughed. I'm used to it. Well, whatever. So at this point, I think before this was when I had made the video that I mentioned earlier that I had to make because I was about to scream, because I'm tired of these repair people doing these rush jobs, jacking me around, ripping me off, and then I regret them later, or I pay for them later. And I'm not gonna let this guy do this to me. And that was why I called him and told him just to wait till today. But he didn't leave her house until 7 o'clock last night, which means he would have come over at my house at like, what, 7 o'clock? I have to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night so I can try to get to sleep and get at least, you know, 6 hours of sleep before I have to get up in the morning.